Hi, it's Alaska Granny. I'm out at Granny Camp, which is my Alaska off-grid cabin. And it's a nice time to be alone in nature and with your thoughts. I've been thinking about the types of food storage that I want to have in my prepping supplies, and I thought I would share with you what I think are the top 5 areas of food storage that you should be concerned with. The first one is to stock up on the dry foods, the longest lasting foods. You need to have things like rice and beans, oatmeal, pasta, all of the different kinds of foods that you can buy. You can put them away in Mylar bags. They can last for 30 years. You can use Mylar bags with oxygen absorbers. You can use clean containers like jars with tight-fitting lids. You can even vacuum seal things to last longer. Those kind of foods tend to be the SHTF, the longest lasting, the least expensive, but a lot of them will require some amount of cooking, preparation, and you're going to require lots of water for preparation. So of course, while we're discussing you need lots of food, make sure that you have plenty of stored water as well. Then you need a full pantry of things like canned foods and packaged foods that you tear open and eat, or maybe tear open and need a little bit of preparation, slight cooking, add a few other ingredients, stir things together to make some easy meals. Those would be the foods that you would probably go to first on a daily basis to make foods for your family, meals. So have a wide variety, everything from beef stew, chili, chicken a la king, things that you can heat up that would make a nice meal. Stir together things like macaroni and cheese, nor pasta sides. There's things like pouch meals and Hormel completes. They're already fully cooked. You just can zap them in the microwave for 60 seconds, or if you can't heat them up, it doesn't matter. They're fully cooked. They taste better if they're heated up, but it isn't necessary. And so some of those types of already prepared meals can also be great to put with your bug out bag, because in a real emergency, if you had to bug out, you may not be able to do any kind of cooking, and so you want to have at least 72 hours worth of food that you could just tear open and eat. Everything from crackers, granola bars, pouch meals, fruit snacks. They even now have yogurt that's shelf stable in little squeeze pouches. So have a variety of foods that are tear open and eat, that don't require any cooking. And then just the common pantry foods, that the everyday groceries that we buy, that we stick into our pantry. Make sure that you know what you're putting in your pantry and you're keeping track of it. Buy foods that you know how to cook, you're willing to eat, and then you need to pay attention and rotate those foods. Be using them on a regular basis and then replacing them. And whenever you buy more food, you push the food on the back of the shelf to the front and you put your new food in the back. That's the only way you can maintain your food stockpile, that it's still going to be fresh. You want to do it just like they do in the grocery store. First in, first out. You're rotating it through it. It's a working pantry because you're always working your way through making meals. You don't necessarily use those foods on a daily basis, but you should at least be trying to rotate them on a weekly basis. And if you're not willing to do that, then don't stock up on foods that you are not willing to rotate through and use. It's very wasteful to buy foods that you have no intention to ever eat. You want to buy foods and have an idea of how you would use them, when you would use them, and then make a point to actually use them, rotate them, and replace them if you like. If you don't like them anymore, replace them with something else. But please don't just waste food. Next, you want to make sure that you have a nice variety of spices, because even if you have only rice and beans, with a variety of spices, you can turn your meals into different flavors so that it isn't like you ate the same thing day after day. Just like you can have many types of beans, you can have many types of spices, and then you have a variety in your meals, even if they're just simple basic foods. I like to buy spices in small containers so that when I open them, they're fresher than if I had a gigantic container, because I don't have a large family that I cook for anymore. And so for me, it's better to have the smaller sizes. I like to store them in a big bin, and I keep it under one of the beds in my home because I don't have a big giant pantry. So I have to find places that I can store food and hide it away. And so my pantry can be in any little nook and cranny. You just never know. But that also makes it harder to keep track of what you have and make sure that you're rotating it. So be cognizant of the things that you buy. Pay attention to where they are, and then try to incorporate them into your regular meals so that you're rotating through those foods. One of the things I've been trying lately is I put together like a box of food, and I put it all for 1 year, 2023, 2024. Then I can put that box away in a nook and cranny, and then I can get the whole box out and add it into my working pantry to make sure that those foods get rotated. That seems to be working a little better for me than just putting boxes of beans, boxes of chili, boxes of corn. That's more complicated for me to then say use 2 out of my pantry and then dig 2 out of my storage somewhere else and replace them. And so then I tend to lose track of how much I have and where it is. So that's my new strategy, is to put foods in by the year and have a variety rather than just a whole, say, box of 12 of the exact same thing. We know that we need food and that shortages are here, prices are rising, and the future does look a little gloom and doom. It's important to realize that your food could run out, so you want to have some self-sustaining way to provide the food you need. Make sure that you have a stockpile of seeds. I've made a video before on how to make your own survival seed vault so that you can protect your seeds to last longer. I'll put a link to that video in case you're interested in how to store your seeds to last the longest. Then no matter what your circumstances, try to grow some food on your own. Start now. It's easier to grow it in the summer out of doors in your yard, but everybody doesn't have that ability. I understand that many people live in high-rise apartments. They have no yard. Everybody has at least a window. You can put something in the window and then try to grow a little something. If you live in a studio apartment and you have one window, no, you can't grow enough food to sustain your entire life, but every little bit helps, and the more that you do, the better off it is. Try growing at least some herbs, maybe some greens in your window, and see if it doesn't help you feel more confident that you have learned new skills that help you be more self-sustaining. Every little bit that we learn and do helps us to have more confidence that we can face the challenges that lie ahead. Learn to preserve the foods that you have, especially if you enjoy gardening or you like to pick them up fresh in the grocery store or even from a farmer's market. Think about the ingredients that allow you to preserve your food. Things like vinegar, pectin, salt, sugar, lemon juice, even garlic. Those ingredients can help foods last longer. Maybe you can pick up a book about it or read some on the internet and at least become familiar with it so that you have an idea that you may have the opportunity, and then you'll have some idea of what to do. Then learn how to preserve your food. Learn to dehydrate, to can it, to pickle it. Maybe you want to do some fermenting. You can learn how to freeze it, learn how to smoke foods, and maybe you even want to learn how to use salt to preserve them. Then for me, what's very important is to make sure that I have the skills and the equipment so that I can hunt and fish, because that's just part of my lifestyle. And it isn't for everyone, but it is for many people. Then if you can go fishing and hunting, make sure that you understand how to preserve and protect that food so that it will last. You hear people say, well, in the apocalypse, I'm just going to go out and hunt and catch everything I need. But if you have no idea, say you get a deer, if you have no idea how much meat is on it, how to harvest it and preserve it, that is just wanton waste if you don't understand how to do that. You don't ever want to be in a position that you are so desperate that you need to go out and hunt for your food, but you have no idea how to make that food safe to eat and how to make it last. If you're already into hunting and fishing, you probably know a lot of that. But if it's not something you do on a regular basis, you may really have no idea. Or if you've only gone hunting with other people who took care of all of that part, there is a whole lot of responsibility to know. It's not as easy as let's go harvest a moose. You have to know what you're going to do next. Just like when you catch a fish, nobody talks about now we need to clean it, now we have to fillet it, now we need to figure out how to freeze it or smoke it, or there's a whole lot of work that goes with all of that. And the amounts of meat that you would need to preserve could be overwhelming for a lot of people who've never been involved with that before. So along with your food, make sure that you have plenty of water, can openers, ways to cook it on a portable stove, your barbecue, camping stoves. There's all kinds of ways that you can learn how to cook your food, even if it's just a foil wrapper on your barbecue or in your fire pit. There are so many ways that can help our lives be not only fun, but can help them be better and help us survive and thrive. And that's what we want to do. One of the things I've been doing while I'm out here at Granny Camp is working with some of my calls, practicing them, because harvesting your own meat is a big part of living in Alaska. So I've been working with a few of my calls. Different calls for different critters, different purposes. I've also made a video a few years ago on how to rattle antlers. If you're looking for a way to rattle in the big ones, I'll put a link to that video if you're interested. Anyway, the most important information I wanted to share with you today is there are basic categories of foods that you want to have in your prepper pantry and your prepping supplies so that you can take care of yourself and your family no matter what the future brings. And if nothing bad happens, wouldn't that be wonderful? And you still have all that food you can eat because you're storing food that you're willing to eat. So even if the price of gas goes to $1, the grocery stores become full, you still have the ability to make meals out of the food that you have in your home. And you should be rotating it so that it still is good to eat. Now remember, dates on packages are best by, use by, sell by, not expired, rotten by date. So don't be afraid to inspect the food that you've stored longer. Don't be afraid to inspect your food to make sure it's still good to eat, even if you think the date is past. Does the package look okay? Does anything look bulging? Anything look greasy, oily, or weird? If you open it, does it spurt? Does everything look okay, smell okay? If there's any reason that you're suspicious, throw it away. But don't just read the date and throw it away. Lots of food is still good long after that date. But it's best if you rotate it within the guidelines on it for it to taste the best. If you enjoyed my video, I hope you'll share it with someone else you think might like it. Please subscribe to the Alaska Granny channel. Teddy doesn't like that. Teddy doesn't like that at all.